What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, home of the 2024 World Series champions, by the way, I might add. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined this morning by Daniel Starkin, here to break down what is the first of a lot, I imagine, of roster moves that the Dodgers are going to be making and learning of. Today, we're talking qualifying offers, Daniel. The news comes out yesterday that Teoscar Hernández received a qualifying offer from the Dodgers. Walker Buehler did not. We'll get to Buehler. Your thoughts on Teoscar Hernández receiving a 1-year, $21 million offer from the Dodgers?
Yeah, I think that was a no-brainer. Like, that was always going to happen here. And I saw some people saying like that kind of hurts the Dodgers' chances of re-signing him. I don't think, that's the case at all. I think this was more just of a procedural move. Like, he's most likely going to decline it. And now the Dodgers will be able to negotiate a new deal with him, probably, 3 or 4 years maybe. And if they are unable to do so and he signs elsewhere, at least you're getting, that draft pick compensation. So to me, that was a no-brainer.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, the Dodgers can still negotiate with him. This is not the only contract they can offer. If anything, this helps the Dodgers' chances because it adds a tax that any other team who wants to sign Teoscar is going to have to pay him both more than what the Dodgers would offer him and surrender a draft pick. And so I actually think if you want Teoscar Hernández back on the Dodgers, this is good news. Now, I don't think either of us expect that Teoscar is going to accept this offer. MLB Trade Rumors has him projected at receiving a 3-year deal of about $60 million. Real quick, Daniel, is that a deal that you would be excited about if the Dodgers brought Teoscar back?
Yeah, I think that's perfect, honestly. Like, he just turned 32, so you probably don't want to go beyond 3 years, but
Yeah.
if you could get him, 3 years, that's probably market value right around 20 million a year. Like, that's not going to cripple you or anything. And of course, his production this past season warranted a contract in that neighborhood. Like, he took the 1-year deal to come here, had a great year, and now he's kind of earned that 3-year deal. So I think that makes sense. If it gets to 4 or 5 years, that's when it gets a little dicey, but 3 sounds perfect to me.
Yeah, the question with him, obviously, number one will be what the Dodgers decide to do with Juan Soto / what Juan Soto decides. And secondly, the concern with Teoscar is he's already at best average defensively in left field, at worst maybe a liability. That's only going to get worse. And again, because of Shohei Ohtani, this is a good problem to have. There is no designated hitter spot available on the Dodgers roster. And so I think one of the questions the Dodgers will have to answer is defensively, can you justify paying and playing Teoscar Hernández for 3 years? On the flip side, it's not my money, and bring the guy back and figure the third year out when you get to the third year. Let's talk Walker Buehler. Some people were surprised, Daniel, that Walker Buehler did not receive the 1-year, $21 million contract qualifying offer. I was not, actually. I'll explain why in a second. Were you surprised that he didn't receive a qualifying offer?
You say you'll explain why in a second. I'm curious to hear your explanation because I was a little surprised just because, yes, like 1 year, 21 million would be probably a slight overpay. But at the same time, like going back to the Teoscar situation, whereas like if he accepts it, like it's probably a little more, but it's just a 1-year deal. Like I think you're fine with bringing him back on a 1-year deal at probably slightly above his market value. And if he declines it and signs elsewhere, you do get that draft pick compensation. So I don't know if this was more about kind of similar to Clayton Kershaw a couple years ago, where the Dodgers were like, we're not going to give this guy the qualifying offer, like kind of out of respect to him. Like, we don't want to dampen his market. Like maybe that's the case with Buehler as well. He's obviously done a lot for the organization, or maybe it's just that they feel like they could come to an agreement on a deal at a smaller number. Like that's a possibility as well. And I think we all would be interested in that. But yeah, I do think there's a lot of kind of directions it could go with, Walker Buehler, whether that be coming back on a short-term deal, coming back on a more longer-term deal for lower AAV. Like it all kind of depends on what Walker wants here. But I definitely was a little surprised, at least, that he didn't get the qualifying offer.
The reason I wasn't surprised is, and I don't mean this, this is a no disrespect to Walker Buehler. I just think as Dodgers fans, we have in our mind what he just did in the World Series, in the NLCS, in Game 5, 13 consecutive scoreless innings to close out, all of that. That sometimes we can fail to remember where the rest of the league might value him at, coming off of the season that he just had, where his numbers were pretty bad for most of the season. Obviously, he writes it at the end. But the other piece here is I went back and looked at what guys made last year. There were only 3 starting pitchers last year who signed contracts with an average annual value of over $19 million. That was Blake Snell, who got $31 million a year for 2 years, Aaron Nola, who got $25 million a year for 7 years, and Jordan Montgomery, who signed a 1-year, $25 million deal. Now, Jordan Montgomery stinks, but we have to remember that a year ago, he did not stink. He was really, really good for the Rangers and pitched incredibly well in the postseason. Then you go down, Sonny Gray, $17 million a year, Giolito, $19 a year, Stroman, $18 a year, Lugo, $15 a year, Flaherty, 1 year, $14 million. Like, I just think if we're being honest around the league, Walker Buehler is probably more in the range of $14 to $18 million a year on like a 2-year deal is my guess. So would I have been shocked if the Dodgers gave him 1 year, $21 million? No, but I also am guessing that Andrew Friedman thinks he can get Walker Buehler back on a 2-year deal worth $30 million. And maybe it's like $17 million in year 1 and a player option for $13 million in year 2. But I actually think this contract, Daniel, settles somewhere between 2 years and between $30 to $36 million is my guess.
Yeah, I do think this winter, like, everyone needs starting pitching, so there's going to be a market for all these guys, and I do think that's why you saw some guys who were not necessarily expected to get the qualifying offer did end up getting it, like Nick Martinez, Luis Severino. I'm forgetting someone else. Oh, Nick Pivetta from the Red Sox. Like, I don't think any of these guys are necessarily a tier above Buehler. Like, they're all kind of in the same tier, so that's why I kind of thought maybe Buehler would get it as well. But I do think that whatever new contract he signs is going to be super interesting, because kind of like I was just saying a couple minutes ago, he could go a variety of different directions. And to be honest, I think he probably wants to sign a 1-year deal, if I had to guess, just because he wants to go out and show that, hey, the guy from the postseason is me, not the regular season guy who was one of the worst pitchers in baseball. So if he could sign kind of a 1-year prove it deal and go out and have maybe not an ace level year, but like, a number 2 or 3 starter level type year, then he could be in for an even bigger payday next winter. So I would imagine maybe a 1+1 type deal, like a 1-year contract with an option, just to have that insurance in case things go south. But I wouldn't imagine he's looking for like a 3, 4, 5-year deal, just because, the AAV on that's going to be super low, considering the year he just came off of. So I do think there's kind of a middle ground that could work for both Buehler and the Dodgers, where you give him, kind of like you were saying, a 1+1 with the total value being around like $30 million or something. So AAV is lower than the qualifying offer, but he does have the insurance of a second year if he wants it. And that's not costing, the Dodgers a whole lot. So I do think, they could find something that works here. And, coming off that World Series run, obviously, like, I think the opinions of many Dodger fans has changed on where they stand on Walker Buehler. I think he went from like, there's no way this guy's coming back, to now, like, we have to bring this guy back. So pretty crazy turn of events, I must say.
Yeah, MLB Trade Rumors, by the way, has him as the number 37 free agent overall, which puts him about the 18th or 19th starting pitcher. They're projecting a 1-year, $15 million deal. That was their prediction on Buehler. One other note on Buehler that's worth pointing out: this is his first time in free agency. So I don't know exactly how he's wired and how he thinks about money, but there's a chance that he just tries to secure a contract that sets him up for the rest of his life, because he has not made that kind of money quite yet because of the way baseball's free agency works. So I could see a chance where he says, give me a 1-year prove it deal, I'll sign it, and then I'll make money. But I also suppose there's a world where if a team offered him a 3rd year guaranteed and all of a sudden it's close to $50 million, like, I could see him maybe saying, well, I'll just sign this contract because it's going to set me up forever. Both of those are things the Dodgers could do, by the way. And obviously we're both hoping that Walker Buehler's a guy that comes back and plays with the Dodgers next season. One more roster decision here to talk about, which is Clayton Kershaw. He had a player option for this upcoming year and chose to decline that player option. I believe it was a $10 million deal. My take on this, Daniel, is that this is Clayton Kershaw, who at the parade basically said, I'm coming back to the Dodgers. I'm going to have no leverage, but I'll be back. That Clayton Kershaw is doing the Dodgers a favor. Here's what I mean. He just removed himself from the 40-man roster, can remove himself from the 40-man roster for the next however many weeks or months he would like to, and then sign the contract that I'm guessing the Dodgers and he already have the framework of in a couple months when the Dodgers don't need the roster flexibility. That's how I see this playing out. What about you?
You know, I'm with you 100%. Like, I don't think there's anything to be concerned about here. Like, we heard Clayton's comments at the parade, like he's not going anywhere. And we've
As
heard
strong as he's ever said that, by the way, like that,
yes,
this is not the
by
same
far.
language we've had the last 2 off seasons.
Yeah, no, by far. Like, he made it clear, like, I'm finishing my career with the Dodgers. And then Andrew Friedman has basically in the past said the same thing. Like, as long as Clayton Kershaw wants to pitch here, like, he's got a contract from us. Yeah. So I don't think there's going to be any issues here. I think it's kind of more like what you're saying. Like, you open up the 40-man roster spot, you could re-sign him later. He's getting 2 surgeries like this week probably. Yeah. So he probably wants to see, you know, how those go, how he recovers from that. And then I would expect at some point in the offseason, we'll get the announcement that he's back on probably a 1-year, $10 million deal, just like the same exact deal, just the same thing, maybe even with an option for 2026 as well.
Yeah, some incentives, I imagine, as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, I could totally see a 1+1 where, again, they put the ball in his court and say, hey, we'll give you a player option so you can opt in to this if you feel like you want it afterwards. So again, Teoscar Hernández receives the qualifying offer. We await his decision on that, but we expect him to decline it. Walker Buehler does not receive a qualifying offer. Dodgers free to negotiate with him. And then Clayton Kershaw declines his player option, becomes a free agent. And the expectation is he will be back with the Dodgers in some form or fashion. Folks, thanks for joining us on Dodger Heads. That is Daniel Stark, and I am Jeff Spiegel. Tonight, 7:10 p.m., Anthony Witrado and I will be back live on Tuesday night. We're doing a top 10, maybe 13 moments of the postseason. We have a list. We're trying to get it down to 10. We're at 14 right now, so we'll see how that goes. But join us for that. More conversation around these decisions as well as other baseball moves going on. Folks, enjoy the rest of your day. As always, go Dodgers.